All right, welcome once again, everyone, to our Werewolf Technical Steering Committee meeting for the 17th of July, 2026. We've got a relatively tight agenda, I think. Not too much going on right now. Things are kind of calm, but we'll talk about conference attendance over the next few weeks and some movement on the Debian front, and then what's going on in development with dependabots and some. This is maybe the biggest thing that I want to have a discussion about. There was a PR submitted for node groups, and I want to get a good response back to the author of that pull request and what our direction would be. But anything that anyone would like to add to this agenda before we proceed? Hearing nothing, let's go. Next week is ISC. I will be there and I'll be attending or participating in the OpenHPC Provisioners BOF alongside um, Confluent and what's the other one? Now I forget. The one out of LANL. Um, I can't remember now, but two other provisioners. And we will give like a 5 minute overview of each of the provisioners and then mostly have Q&A from the audience. We did the same thing in um, at SC last year, and it went reasonably well. So looking forward to that. Tim, are you going to be at ISC or no? No.
Not
Okay.
this year.
Okay. Um, hey, Christian. After that, CIQ and I included with that will be at Perk. We're hosting an explicit Werewolf BOF where Rose is planning out a bunch of breakout sessions on a number of topics for people to kind of assemble wish lists and things. And we'll give some updates on the state of the project. We've talked about that before. Rose isn't able to be here today, so she doesn't have the outline of that to present, but we've talked about it before. So no changes, nothing new there. And then there's also a general OpenHPC BOF at Perk also that we don't have a formal stake in, but of course we want to go there, and I'll plan to attend that and represent Werewolf there. And I think Chris Simmons said that he was planning on being at the Werewolf BOF too, so we'll look forward to that cross participation. Um, I think that's everything that's coming up right now that's directly pertinent to us. Oh, I did hear that there's at least one werewolf presentation, I think, at the um like the SIG HPC group or there's yeah at Perk. So I'm going to try and attend that as well. I had one foot in each camp where I was signed up for two workshops at the same time, and I got a nasty gram back from the Perk organizing committee saying, "Don't sign up for two workshops at the same time, fix it." So I'm going to have to actually decide that I'll go to that one. But yeah, it's cool to see community presentations there as well. I'm going to make a note about that. Um,
I think
uh,
if we're thinking about the same presentation, there are slides that you can review as well. I did a quick review of them
I
and
think are
got some
those the ones that
feedback.
Rose was sharing, like in the TSC
Yes.
channel or something? Yeah, I've seen those, so it'll be good to go and support them. Um, the next thing, so CIQ has I mentioned this in the the users group meeting, but CIQ has a customer that needs Werewolf packages for Ubuntu 2404, I think, and so I and Claude uh, did some work to generate some debs. And these are here and they're in the CI. And if you go and see um, an action where this ran, uh, so here is, I think, the most recent one of these. No, where is it? Well, there is a release that was generated from this. Probably, yeah, this one right here. You can go and you can find those packages and run them. Our support team has done some work um, experimenting with those and wrote a report about their experiences. The software works. Most of their complaints are just default configurations in like werewolf.conf that are pointed at paths that are not where Ubuntu stores those things. So they've put a set of recommendations together for improvements to these packages, which I have attached here. I haven't gone back and incorporated those yet, but I intend to get back to that in the not too distant future. Did anyone else have a chance to try these out or have any concerns or comments on them? Hmm. All right. Well, we will continue working on these and maybe be able to have Debs in 471, but if not, then like 48 whenever that gets released. Actually, that's a good question for the committee. Would you guys consider building Debs in CI something that should be retained for a 4.8 or something we could do in a 4.7.1?
Why not in the 471?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because we're actually using Werewolf on Debian 24 right now. So I had to build my own. It would have been handier if I could have avoided that.
Okay. Sounds great.
Are you
Yeah.
also doing 2604?
So right now I'm only testing, or our team has only tested it on 2404. I think they did run it. I think they actually did. Someone ran it on 2604 also, but I haven't run it at all, frankly,
Oh,
myself.
I guess we're not making separate packages for that. We're just, you could theoretically install the dev on both ones. Is that the plan?
Let's.
You should. I did actually try to put the 24 package on 22, and that's a no-go.
Okay.
Only because I can't build it on 22 because the Go was not new enough.
I'm trying to see what it actually built because like if it encoded it in the version name base or in the package name is what I'm basically looking for. So, um, yeah, so it's not encoding it specifically for a given release, but it is building it with 2404. So maybe we could incorporate it into the integration tests and try installing it on a couple different Ubuntu versions and see if that works. And then we would decide if we need different packages or not.
Yeah, and when it comes out, I'll also start testing. I'll update my rig for 2604 as well.
I wouldn't think we would need different packages because it's all Go, right? So it's
Yeah,
all static binaries, but um, yeah, it'd be good to confirm.
the dependencies is the only place that you might have issues.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
And if we're using, I assume we're using DNS mask for
I don't know
the
what the team that tested it out used, how they wired it up. I frankly I haven't
and
read that.
what the dependencies are. As long as it's that, we should be future proof.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably doing that. I need to do more looking into it. It's very I got a package that built and handed it to a team and said, check this out. What do you think? Just like pointing a model at the RPMs and saying, make it work like that. Um, a tiny thing is that we have more dependabot PRs that have come in. There's five, which means there's probably more because it only will generate five PRs at a time. So I can, but anyone can review these and get them into change logs and merge them. What I've been doing recently, if anyone wants to follow this example, you don't have to do this, but rather than trying to review and merge these individually, as long as they're not, you know, bumping the Golang version or whatever, I just create a local branch and merge these all into one and then update changelog once and get that one PR merged and have that supersede all of these. That's worked reasonably well for me to make this a bit faster. I haven't gotten to these myself, but anyone should be able to do those, and those would go into 471, obviously. So on to this node groups thing. I keep closing my GitHub thing. Um, so we got a PR from Andreas Scow, who I do not know. But this is a second PR actually, and I haven't reviewed the first one either. Um, but we've talked many times about, ways to group nodes and run commands against them as a group. And the way I have proposed this in the past is to just support running commands against profiles, and then
So did you talk internally about it? But I don't think you're on the committee, huh?
what was that?
We didn't talk about here about how to grouping nodes, huh? Did we?
I think we have talked about it in the committee. Uh
Is the issue
there's
open?
an issue for it also. But I think we talked about that as a thing we could do, and if someone wanted to
Hmm.
try with like a PR, and then we'd review that. But I haven't gotten to it, and it hasn't happened. Um, so separately, this gentleman has proposed explicit node groups that you could then have like an at sigil to do things against a group of nodes. And then there's metadata for, I thought he had an example in here for how it's configured. Oh, I'm thinking about the documentation page. Um, there's then metadata for saying what groups nodes are in, and that is how it works. And I asked him like what his thought would be about doing this with profiles. I think he put that in the PR here, but mostly he just felt like that would be messy, I think, and that it would be better to have explicit groups. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm interested in what the committee thinks for this. If we did go down this route, I think I would recommend not calling them explicitly node groups and just have them be groups so that if and when we in the future had, let's say,
Hmm.
networks as an entity in here, you could use the same groups to hold both kinds of things. And then depending on what command you're running, it would run against the correct kinds of entities in that group. But um, they don't exist as their own, or do they? Maybe.
I
Oh
I
yeah, he is saying there's a node groups thing that, and then he's making it so you can add them in here. Okay, I had missed this part of it. But yeah, what do you guys think?
um yes. Only because I've had to I'm dealing with systems now that have all kinds of different names. So when I'm doing command line WW control, I've got to write out these very long lists of nodes, node names and ranges, and it would be handy if I could just stuff them all into a group that I could call explicitly.
Hmm.
So yeah, right now for the what I'm doing, this would actually solve a lot of busy work that I have to do when I'm just doing general maintenance. So I like it, and I also prefer agree with you. Just call them a group.
And just to be clear, you can't do the things using profiles, right? You couldn't just have a null profile and do it on the profile.
Yeah, I also came up with that argument, and I think it's Andreas who did it. He had the argument that it will then just clutter up the profiles, and we cannot, the groups are explicitly there to have an action on it, where a profile is a configuration.
I think what I would want to continue thinking of that as, so this PR, according to its documentation, has two different ways to say that a node is a member of a group. There's a groups stanza at the top of the file where you list it per group and then say what nodes are in it. But then you can separately say for the profile or for a node what groups that applies. I think I would like to consolidate down to one of these options rather than have two. And my recommendation would be to just support this because you can effectively do this by having the group in a profile and then assigning that
Yeah.
profile to nodes, and now those nodes are in that group.
Yeah. I was going to say I would take the other approach. Normally, by the way, I would say agree, but if we actually establish a group, it then adds the other thing that would be really handy, which is the node group would be the ideal, might be the ideal place to put in what I'm looking auto naming or excuse me, auto ranging IP addresses. Um, to where instead of having to specify every single node with its MAC address and IP address, it would be nice to actually be able to just do auto ranging IP addresses based on node group. This group gets this range, this group gets this range, and start auto assigning. But
Yeah, but that's really then a profile.
later, but in any case, either way is fine with me. I think they both have their benefits.
I would also go with Jonathan and say, um, because it's basically the node groups is just placeholder for for node names. And it's not really something which is doing stuff. It's the command then would be the same like if you do, for example, WRB control power node power on and have the
Hmm.
node group before, it just expands the node and does not really change any other logic. And
I agree. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, Timothy.
No, I was going to just finish your thought. I was going to do my opinion.
And also, if you just have, and also as Jonathan said, I know he didn't say that, but I see the problem that if you have two different kind of configure something, then it's always unclear where the configuration really comes from. And if you just have the node groups as at the top or the end of the YAML file, this would be okay. Then you immediately see what's inside of the node and what's not, and then inside of the group and whatnot.
I think if we do this syntax also, it will immediately get people to ask, how do I apply configuration to the nodes in a group? And
Yes.
then we'll be having to retrofit people back into profiles again. Um, but this makes it more like this is more in line with how other configuration already works in Werewolf.
Okay, then we just have to pick one of these
Yeah.
configurations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
By
agree.
the way, Jonathan, I agree with you on that point.
Yeah,
It'll
100% it should be one, pick one or the other one. I'm
oh
kind of
no.
leaning towards the one on the top, just because you could potentially do some hierarchical things like row, rack, those types of things. And it just seems more natural, but it's not, it's more of a gut feeling than anything.
If we did this, how would you guys feel about it being in its own file rather
Well,
than in nodes.conf?
I
Why
would
not?
prefer to node.conf because
Yeah.
if I'm doing editing, I want to be able to just put it in right there without having to pull it. And I'm actually agreeing with you, Jonathan. I like the idea of a group and you'd be able to put things in, but on the other hand, I can totally see where it's going to go south if once it's there, then we're going to want to start putting a bunch of stuff in it. And by the way, Tim, funny thing you brought it up because I actually think node under the node there should be a location item
As a
because that's
tag.
starting to come up too.
Do
And
it
I
with
Yeah.
tag
tag.
it. I know, but I there's a lot of stuff I'm tagging. I'm like, this really should be a standard item that goes into the
Yeah.
and because I actually can then define my IP addresses based on location instead of explicitly.
And if we don't, is there perhaps a better word than node groups or groups? More
Yeah.
something which carries it in the word that it's just an. I have just now the alias on my tongue that something like aliases where it's clear, okay, you can, this is really just a, a, a collection of names, not more and not less.
Yeah, I do think
Yeah.
if we called it alias, then people wouldn't understand implicitly that you can have the same alias applied to multiple nodes.
Uh,
Um,
when he said it, I immediately thought of tag, right? So then it's not a group, it's tags. And so you can tag it,
Yeah,
tag a
we have too
location, you
many
can,
tags already.
that is true.
That tax would be the real name. You are completely right,
yeah.
Timothy. But we have
Yeah.
already tax. We have
A
already
node
used that
tag.
name.
Yeah.
It's
I
keys
already
now.
I already figured out how to this would totally be doable, right? With tags. I mean, you could tag specific explicit names and then have it auto generate, environment variables and include all the nodes. So I could just use a variable, um, which is essentially what he's doing. It'd just be instead of an @ sign, I would just use a $sign.
I've been thinking about the top version, and I'm beginning to agree with Jonathan, and I'm going to retract my gut feeling that I think there's more dragons in the top version than the bottom version. The bottom version
Yeah.
looks pretty simple implementation, and won't have future creep and just keep less dragons.
I think this invites additional functionality, which is what scares me. It makes you want to do more things with it.
and,
And
and errors too,
yeah,
right?
right.
And then if you're going to walk using YAML tools. It's a whole lot easier to update the YAML tools if you're just in a node profile as opposed to going to the node groups and manually expanding those ranges.
Yeah.
So
Nickname,
Nickname.
something like this.
I mean, they are grouped, right? So the grouping is what we're doing, and you can group by location. So
Actually, I would say group.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
rather than no groups. Um, Actually, what? See, he had a wwctl node group command, and now I'm uncertain what it's for. But maybe it's just like to see like what nodes are in it. But um,
and the other thing is to pull the option number one in terms of configuration.
yeah, I'm gonna go grab it in a second.
And that fixes a whole lot of these ranging issues that we have as well, right? Just it's rack one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
blade
so
center
the way he
one.
implemented it was inside of the host group or the host list function. So you still have all that. It just also recognizes these group sigils and can expand them in the same way, which is kind of cool. Um,
If someone were to stick in arbitrary metadata in the YAML file, does wwctl handle it okay, or does it silently get dropped or
Currently, it
blows it
silently
up?
gets dropped.
So
This
you
is
can't
something
have a
Jeremy has asked for, but it is
Yeah.
not. It's not handling that right now.
No,
see,
we
It
need to
builds a data
switch
structure
the
and then re-emits a new data structure. So
yeah.
like comments and things get lost.
You have
yeah.
to move to the new YAML engine in order to support it.
Because I was just thinking having asset tag and things like that in there would be nice as well if you're going to do location and
Yeah. There's a couple of items I've gotten really, I'd say, too common that they should probably be moved from tags into standard. Like DNS is right now is handled through tags, but it's too important.
Well, so far the differentiator has been there. If it's only used by an overlay, then
Hmm.
it's a tag. But if we do something and go with it, then it's a field.
Okay.
Um,
so you
but
could add an asset tag then, I guess, and it would just use it. If it was never
Yeah.
used, it didn't matter.
don't we have
I've
an
got
asset tag field?
Oh,
Because we
maybe.
we authenticate against it because it reads it out of DMI decode.
Well, there's multiple tags that asset tags that show up there, and they don't always match. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I know we have one, but I was figuring there might be some other information because the asset tag versus the university asset tag versus the service code versus the serial number versus and then they're all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the actual DMID code.
Anything else for the feedback on this one? Does it seem good?
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then the last thing was just people may or may not recall, we're trying to have a bug bash right now where we focus on bug fixes for 47 X 471 hopefully. And I have not contributed to that much, maybe at all, because my travel schedule has been crazy. And I'm hoping to be able to get some time to contribute into that. But that is where my attention would be otherwise, if except for this Debian packaging thing. But I did notice yesterday that when I put out a call for interest and if there were specific bugs that people in the community were interested in prioritizing for address, um, that I had to put that only in the development channel, not in the general channel. So I copied that there last night, and I don't think I've seen any responses there. I think I would have gotten a notification if so. But maybe we will get some,
Okay.
not takers, but like some interest over there.
Oh,
Yep. Just me for now, though.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Um, we never added an active or a node active or future, all like the SLRM commands for future or inactive or under maintenance. We don't have any specific field for that in the node file, correct? I had
Correct.
it. Okay, I implemented it as a tag, but it's kind of a hassle when
How
I'm
are you
going
using it?
through. Um, I don't want to lose all my nodes set up in my nodes conf, but I occasionally need to turn it off because I need to get it out of the DHCP conf.
I
And
see.
so,
You want a way to tell Werewolf to not provision that node, basically, but still
yes,
have it
this
in there.
node is coming. I also have future nodes that I don't want showing
Right.
up. But yeah, it's basically a field that says don't get rid of all this config I put in, but don't do anything with this node right now.
Hmm.
Um, And so I just obviously added an active field and I wrapped all the fields in the DHCP conf file, but just for the primary IP because um I still need it to fill out the excuse me, still need the host file to fill out my BMC IPs
Hmm. And
so I
see
can get to it.
that's where it would be
It gets
um
into some weird stuff.
right, because
Eh,
you have very special case behavior there. Like in my
Yeah.
mind, if you had that, it should ignore it in all cases. So maybe what you
By
want,
default, ignore in all cases, but the nice thing about overlays is I can go in there and tweak them, do anything I want to them.
sure. Maybe you
But
want it per interface though. Maybe you want your network interface and your IPMI interface to have an active or inactive, and then
yeah,
it would just be there. But yeah, I don't know.
I
If
I was just looking for it'd be so much handier if I just had a single field, one word,
yeah,
that just I can just turn on and off at
I don't think
the
there's an
core.
issue for it, so
Yeah.
put an issue together for it.
Okay. I just wanted to think if that was something we'd already have and I was just
No, I
missing
don't
it.
think so.
Okay. But I really hate having to lose all my config that I already have in there.
Oh, this is something that was brought up from a customer
Hmm.
that I'm interested. I don't know why I didn't think to bring this up here. So just a minute, let me take this note. So we have someone asking for a nodes.conf.d where, or a nodes.d or whatever we wanted, where you could put multiple files
Mm.
that would then be, to my mind goes to one file per node. But what they're proposing is that each of them is effectively a complete nodes.conf, and that the final configured state is those nodes or those files like layered together, where in
But it
lexical
would
order they
not
override each other.
be nodes.conf, it would be werewolf.de. So that the thing why I also thinking about is that you could then put profiles which are needed for some configurations. We had it with Kubernetes. Then they need a special profile in combination with a configuration. So they need a profile and an overlay in the same configuration. So you could put the profile which is needed for the overlay inside one big RPM or one small RPM in that case.
Right. I see what you're saying. So you could package the profile alongside with the overlay, and then all you have to do is add that profile to your node. I hadn't thought about that. That's great. Um,
It it would
Like
be
everything I do.
it would be my biggest complaint is it's terrible when it comes to using YAML though. As we discovered when you get the indent on a single area in your YAML file and it completely blows up your configuration in a non-intuitive way.
Yeah, that's we just have to think carefully about it.
Yeah.
What, how
So
they or define a hierarchy, how the files are read in, and also
If
that we make sure that we just read files with certain uh, suffixes like YAML and conf, so that, for
it,
example, if RPM creates a .rpm save or some other files, they don't go up in the configuration.
yeah.
Didn't we have this
The
discussion before?
We
Because
did.
maybe, but
I
I've
was
had it in
said
a number of venues, so I couldn't remember if we had it here.
I could have swore we had this discussion and we decided it was a really bad idea.
it was going to be problematic for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was the
here
main
we
one.
talked about
When
it
you
in February.
Yes. And when you write back, and that was the other one I was going to mention again. If we go and we put the new YAML, the one that's currently being developed, you can throw an include in on your YAML file and split it up as much as you want because it'll all get written up. And that YAML interpreter will write back the way you read in. So,
All right. I will take a note to myself to re-review our comments from last time on this, um, rather than bother everyone with relitigating it. So that's the end of my agenda. Anything else that we need to discuss? But yes, Tim.
So I reviewed quickly the dependencies for the Debian
Okay.
and or Ubuntu, and it uses the ISC or the T1. So that's a dead end in terms of DHCP servers. So I don't wonder if we want to go to DNS mask to be more future proof because we'd have to change it in. I'm guessing, totally guessing that 26.04 does not support the ISC one.
Okay.
Now
I will.
it does depend conditionally on T the new ISC the new DHCP server done by
Yeah, the one
ISC.
that they've developed. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we have overlays for that. Uh,
Right.
and so yeah, we probably should sometime in the future do that for folks that wanted to go that route. But right now we have DNS mask that does work on Debian. So or do an OR on it so that you can at least install it with DNS mask in it. I don't know what the default one is. That would be the quick fix, right? But the
It,
config file, where does the config file default to in
yeah.
terms of its default server? And I'm guessing if we do DNS mask, it would be across the board.
Okay. Yeah. I think DNS mask is the right thing in this case. I have taken a note there. Thank you for looking into that. Anything else? All right. Everyone, thank you so much for your time and for your contributions to
Uh,
Werewolf. Yes, Christian?
Famous last word for the TPM. Can you the PR I made? Can you check it? And I also have always problem with the if you check the tests with the I just tried to fix it and was not able to do it. Uh, there is this licensing thing. This breaks relatively often for me, and I don't know how to update it. I just run the script and force pushed it. If you know how to fix it, please fix it.
Oh,
Then yeah,
this
this
thing
one.
here. So, yes, I actually meant to mention this. So the Deb PR has a commit in it that fixes this, and
Okay.
I need to break that out and submit it as its own PR. So I'll do that today so that we can get that in and we can rebase.
Yeah, or just merge the Debian one.
Well, the Debian one's not ready, so
Okay.
I'll get that commit broken out as its own PR,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
we can use
Just
that.
try pick. Cool. And then review the TPM stuff.
I'll
That's
get
much
to
more important.
it. I'll tell you what,
Okay.
I'll do that if you meet me in Hamburg. Too bad.
It's so far away, and it's so. Yeah, that's so. It's in the north, you know. They eat.
Thanks for all your
Okay.
advice, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys
See
later.
you.
Thanks
Bye.
all.